My pranams to all Atmajyotis, divine light of the self. Today, we are taking up one very interesting theme for the story. Today, we are going to understand what is Dharma or Dharma Mimamsa through parables. Dharma is one of the most difficult concepts in our culture to understand. We think we understand, every time we understand, it goes deeper. So there is a confusion in the culture. We start, because there is no word for dharma in English, we start taking religion as dharma. Religion has nothing to do with dharma. So today let us take up the topic of dharma through parables. So there is, Bhagavad Gita begins with the shloka, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsava mamaka pandavas chaiva kima kurvata sanchaya. So Dhritarashtra, the blind king, is sitting in his palace and he has Sanjaya by his side. He is telling Sanjaya, oh Sanjaya, in the field of dharma, dharma kshetre, and in the field of Kurukshetra, the field where Kauravas and Pandavas are meeting for war, what are my relatives Mamakaha and Pandavas are doing? See, the entire Bhagavad Gita begins with the shloka, begins with dharma. That way, the Bhagavad Gita is, in summary, is an exposition of dharma. The entire Bhagavad Gita is nothing but teaching of dharma in one way. Okay. So why the Dhritarashtra asks Sanjaya? Sanjaya has the remote vision. He has the ability to see what's going on in the war field. Oh Sanjaya, what's happening in the war field? My relatives Pandavas, my relatives Kaurava, my relatives, my children Duryodhana and Pandavas, the others, what are they doing? Dhritarashtra is blind. He requires somebody's help to understand what's going on there. And so it's a big war field where more than about 40 to 50 lakh soldiers have gathered to fight. In that war, nobody knows who will survive. It's a very bloody battle. The first shloka of Bhagavad Gita itself opens with dharma kshetre. It opens with the dharma. That means the Bhagavad Gita is a teaching of dharma in some way. Entire teaching of dharma. Now, why Dhritarashtra is saying dharma kshetre? He knows it is a battle of dharma. The Mahabharata war, where 50 lakh soldiers have gathered from different countries, all the way from Afghanistan, Iran, people have come to fight a war, and the war is for dharma. Okay, that Dhritarashtra knows very well. So he is worried because in any fight, the influence of dharma is there. Those who are on the side of dharma will win. So he is worried that his children are going to lose. Deep inside he knows the victory is there for dharma. That's why he opens with dharma. Dharma kshetra kurukshetra. There is Mamaka, my people, and Pandavaha. So actually Pandavas also is brothers' sons only. But then he separates them out. So this is where the dharma, the understanding of dharma begins. A war field, battlefield, one who is on the side of dharma, he will get victory. That's the understanding those days. Where there is dharma, there is victory. So Dhritarashtra is worried. Okay. And he deep inside he knows his children are not on the side of dharma. Then he says, my children, Mamaka, And Pandava, he says the others. Even though they are also his children, because they are actually his brother's children. So the vision of dharma itself is outlined clearly here. Dharma means defining what is yours and what is not yours. That's where you can make a mistake. Where you draw a boundary between what is mine and what is not mine, you can make a blunder. Mine and others. The mine concept of mine comes from the ego. Okay. And others, oh, what is not mine is the others. So you see this separation. This is the beginning of adharma. When you see the separation, boundary. Okay. So Dhritarashtra's dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, samaveta, yutsva. And there is a symbolic meaning also. Dhritarashtra is a blind king. In a sense, he is blind to adharma which is going on in his kingdom. Adharma or wrongdoing which is happening in with his own children. But deep inside, he knows he is somewhere wrong also. He is afraid. So that's where the Bhagavad Gita opens. Now, next first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna and Krishna are sitting in a chariot. Arjuna is asking Krishna, okay, Krishna, please take me to, I want to watch the armies, Pandava and Kaurava armies. He wants to do a survey. So he tells Krishna, take me to the place where armies are standing. So the Krishna takes him to the Pandava Kaurava army. In between the Pandava and Kaurava army is there. Seeing that, Arjuna gets depressed. He gets confused first. And he gets depressed. Actually, depression starts before depression comes, confusion comes. What is right and what is wrong? Depression doesn't come directly. Depression comes before confusion comes first. What is right? What is wrong? What should I do? What should I not do? He sees his relatives, okay, his grandfather Bhishma, his guru Dronacharya, okay, and his cousins Kauravas standing in front of him, all warriors. In war, anybody can die. His guru Dronacharya is standing in front of me. How can I fight against my guru? How can I fight against my grandfather? Right? So now he is confused, and confusion leads to depression. The confusion is the father of depression. Actually, we say, I am depressed. Really, you are confused. After that, only depression comes. So then Arjuna tells Krishna, Krishna, how can I fight this war? In the war, everybody can there is a terrible war actually. Almost 40 to 50 lakh people participate in the war. Okay. In a war, people will die. When people die, okay, the family dharma will go first. The father is not there in the house. The mother is there. She cannot take care of the children. The children will grow orphans. So mother has to work somewhere. Okay. The first family dharma will go in the war field. Dharma means an order. In a sense, when we use the word dharma, it's an order. Right? There's some order in the family, right? There's a way of functioning. Husband, father comes and goes and works, and mother takes care of the home. Okay, there is earning. So there's some order in the house. That disorder will happen. The family dharma will go. So then what will happen? All men will die. Then women, they get into trouble. Okay, when women get into trouble, men are not there, then society gets into trouble. Society dharma will go. Society order will go. Dharma means order. Okay, and one who creates the society disorder is a sinner, papi. I'll become sinner. I can't fight this war, he'll say, Arjuna. He gives the dharma as an excuse for confusion. So confusion, now the moment we are confused, we add some layers on that. And when we communicate, we say something else. Arjuna is confused deep inside, but he says, he gives the reason for dharma, reason of dharma or order. Bhagavad Gita begins with the dharma kshetre kurukshetre, dharma, but speaks about dharma. Now Arjuna is giving dharma as a reason for not fighting the war. Right? So there is a disorder. Krishna scolds him. Okay? Krishna scolds him. Krishna understands Arjuna's dilemma very clearly. He says, you are speaking of dharma, but you are not following dharma. Okay? See, dharma means order. Let us understand what is the word called dharma. There is no equivalent word for dharma in English or any other language other than Sanskrit. So that's why whenever people speak of religion, they are trying to equate dharma, they are confusing the society. Dharma is a very, very unique concept, very special. So people say we are Hindu, we have Hindu dharma like Islam dharma or Christianity dharma. The dharma is not religion at all. Okay, so dharma is something more fundamental. Let us understand what is dharma. Dharma means a nature, essential nature. Okay, everything in the universe has an essential nature, its own nature. Right? Its own nature is there, and nature creates its behavior. For example, the fire is there. What is the nature of fire? To burn. The fire knows only one thing, to burn. The water knows only one thing, to cool. The wind knows only one thing, to blow. So every aspect of creation has a nature. That nature is called dharma. Correct? Animals have dharma. Animals have a nature, animal nature. We call it as animal nature, animal dharma. What is animal dharma? They follow it properly. A tiger is hungry. It will eat one deer. It will kill one deer and eat. Then when its stomach is full, the next deer comes and sits near the tiger. It will not do anything. It will not do something more than what it needs. Because it knows, if I kill one more deer, then tomorrow I will not have food in the forest. Right? So everything in the nature follows the dharma. Sun follows the dharma. Sun gets up at 6 a.m. in the morning and gives the light and sets at 6 p.m. in the night. Now sun will fall. There is a nature of sun giving light, and this nature of everything in nature of every object or every aspect of creation brings an order. There's an order. So you know this nature of sun. Sun will get up and come up at 7 o'clock in the morning and sets at 6 o'clock in the morning and sets at 6 o'clock. Suppose you don't know nature, then there's a chaos. You don't know. It's unpredictable. Everything is unpredictable.
How is nature and order?
I'll tell you. Right? So the nature of every aspect of creation is such that there is an order in creation.
The behavior creates order.
With the behavior, there's an interaction, and that interaction, there's an order. Okay, there's an order in the universe, the total order in the universe, as a perfect order, and the perfect order is also called dharma. It comes from the dharma of aspects of creation. There are various elements in creation, each of them have dharma, and the total dharma creates the order in the universe. Right? So this dharma, when the order gets disturbed, it's called adharma. There's dharma and adharma, disorder. So in one sense, dharma or order is God himself, because God, Bhagavan, Brahman himself manifested as universe. What we see as the universe is nothing but God, Brahman. So all aspect of creation is nothing but appearance of God, manifestations of God. So dharma is Brahman only, Ishvara only, Bhagavan only. The Ishvara did not create the order. Ishvara is the order. The Bhagavan didn't create an order. He becomes the order. Say you create an order and becoming the order, that's different. Say you give your work, you have some work, you give it a servant, he'll spoil it up. Okay, right? Spoil. But you go and do it yourself. I'll do it properly. So Bhagavan doesn't delegate this to anybody. He himself becomes the order.
Then how can that be?
Only human beings become the disorder. We'll find out. We'll tell them. Okay. So there is an order in the universe. There's an order in the cosmos. The sun, moon, the solar system, everything is operating perfectly. Right? The huge galaxy is working with the order. That order is called dharma. Because each of the elements of the galaxy, like sun, moon, planets, have their own dharma, nature. They follow. And because each follows this nature, there's an order, total order. If one doesn't, let's say one planet doesn't follow the order, then there'll be chaos. But everybody follows a gravitational law, some law. Correct? So there's an order in the universe. There's an order in the living beings. All living beings have an order. Okay? They follow an order. For example, there's a animals which eat plant. There are animals which eat those plant-eating animals. That's called herbivorous. Is animals eat like deer and all eat plants. Then carnivorous animals eat herbivorous animals. Now, which population is more, herbivorous or carnivorous? The population of deer is always more than the population of tigers. And the plants are always more than the deers. Carnivorous animals are there. Animals eat which animals which eat others, like tiger eats animals. So there's an order in them. There's a balance in them. The tiger doesn't eat another deer until it's hungry. So when there's, let us say, there's a what you call as famine in the forest. Okay. And there's only one lake. All the animals have to come to the lake. All the animals, carnivorous and herbivorous animals, they will come in some order and drink. The carnivorous animal will not attack a herbivorous animal when they are drinking water. They follow a queuing system. Okay. So there's an order at the universal level. There's a biological order. There's an order in the nature. There's an order in the season, right? Rainy season, summer season, winter, and all those things will come order. Suddenly rain will come, then suddenly something will happen. It won't happen. It will come in some order. Predictability, the order and predictability is there. There's an order in your body. It's called biological order. Your brain works, mouth functions, ears function, eyes function. This order is called dharma, the natural order. Correct? You are able to function because of dharma. Your body has certain dharma. Because of that, you are able to function. Otherwise, imagine when you want to eat food, mouth will go on hunger strike. I won't eat. I won't take food. Anyway, it's given for going to stomach. Why should I eat? They'll cooperate with each other. In the order, there is a cooperation. There is a functioning together. There's an order at a molecule level, atoms and molecule level, electron level. Electron and atoms level functions properly. This order is coming because of the behavior of individuals. Each element of nature has certain behavior, nature. The fire has a burning ability. The water has a cooling ability. Together that forms a order in the universe. And there's a perfect order. That's called natural order. Right? The only problem comes in the universe when it comes to human beings. They are able to create havoc in this order. They are able to destroy this order. A tiger will not eat next deer until it's hungry. The human being, even if he's not hungry, he will kill 100 deer and store it in the refrigerator. Okay, and that is the reason there is so much of disorder is there in the world. All seasons change. What you call as the environmental degradation. Okay, what you call as global warming, unseasonal rains, floods. Why? Because human beings have disturbed the order in the nature. Only human beings have the ability. None of the other beings in the universe have the ability to disturb the order. And this order is called dharma. And it comes because the nature of each things. Now tell me, what is the nature of a human being? Fire has a nature. The deer has a nature. The tiger has a nature. Water has a nature. What is the nature of human being? The human being is nature is unpredictable. So the way he functions, the way he behaves is unpredictable because there's some degree of freedom is there in human beings, which is not there in animal level. And this is what leads to adharma or disorder. That's why Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamiham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. So Bhagavan will take an avatar or incarnation if there's a huge disorder in a big disorder. Not small things, it doesn't. Small things you only have to take care. That's respect up to you. But huge disorder which human mind cannot handle, then Bhagavan takes an incarnation. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkrita. Paritranayam sadhunam. Sadhu means one who follows dharma. Means he doesn't disturb others. He maintains an order. Dushkriti means vinashaya cha dushkrita. Dushkriti means the one who disturb this order. They create trouble for the sadhus. Then there is a total chaos. Then Bhagavan comes as incarnation of Sri Krishna, Rama, various incarnations to uphold the dharma. That's what Sri Krishna says. When you say uphold dharma, it means order in the society. Okay. See, the order in the society, you can think more like a legal system, law and order. Okay. So there is a law and order in the society. That's why people can safely walk on the street or do some business and come back. If the law and order breaks down, everything will collapse. Nothing you can do. So then government will have to send army and police to restore the law and order. So in Bhagavan, when there is too much of chaos, too much of distance, he himself will incarnate to restore the order. That's what he says. Okay. So now the interesting question comes. Why did Krishna ask Arjuna to fight the war? There are so many people are going to die. More than 50 lakh people are going to die. Why did he tell Arjuna to fight the war? Why did Krishna tell Arjuna, don't fight the war, this is violence? There is a dharma order called Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. We have heard of it. Sri Mahatma Gandhi popularized it. Right? Jain Muni or Mahavir Jaina said, taught Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. Ahimsa or non-violence is dharma. Dharma means it's a nature. See, dharma has two meanings. One is nature, your nature. Dharma is the order which is created by the nature. Nature of you and order created by nature. So ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa is the highest dharma. Why did Sri Krishna tell Arjuna to fight the war? So that shloka, ahimsa paramo dharma, okay, is not complete shloka. People are taking only part by part. Dharma himsa tadaivacha. The next part of the shloka. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the sacred. Non-violence is the supreme dharma. Order to be followed or nature to be adopted. Okay. But then violence is dharma when dharma is challenged. Fight is dharma, or you have to use violence when dharma is disturbed. See, for example, our country, now our country is being attacked by some other second country, third country. Okay. Then you say, ahimsa paramo dharma is what I thought. We'll keep quiet. They will come and kill you. So then you have to adopt himsa, you have to fight. So that's why when people say ahimsa paramo dharma, they don't tell that other part, second part. Himsa ahimsa paramo dharma, himsa tataivacha. That means to protect dharma, you are permitted to use violence. Okay. So otherwise what happens? You'll sit and the enemy will come and kill you. Then your whole existence is gone. It so happened that during 1947, there was a partition of India. Okay. There was a partition of India. India got split into India and Pakistan. That time, people were butchered, women were raped, children were thrown on the street, murdered. How many? Almost 5 million, 50 lakh people. There was bloodbath. Okay. A terrible bloodbath. The blood was flowing in the streets. Then what Mahatma Gandhi did? Ahimsa paramo dharma. He started for fasting. Stop the violence. The violence didn't stop. Bloodbath is going on. Okay. That time in Calcutta, there was a big gunda called Gopal. His name is Gopal. He was famous gunda that time, Calcutta. Very violent, known as a very terrible gunda. Okay. He was very violent. He had 800 gundas working for him in Calcutta. He said, if any Hindu is killed, protect them. Okay. Do whatever violence is required to stop this violence. And because of them, because of him, many lakhs of Hindus' life are saved. And this is Gunda. He said, let us do whatever is required to protect Hindus. And if he had not done that, in Calcutta, there will be not a single Hindu left. And he's a Gunda. He's known as a Pakka criminal. Now, Gandhiji says, Ahimsa paramo dharma. And this person who is a Gunda, who is a criminal, says, Himsa is required to protect dharma. So, please understand, wrongly understanding dharma can destroy your life. The entire life journey is to understand what is dharma and how should I live my dharma. So the dharma has to be understood very clearly. It requires a sharp mind. Dharma is not a set of rules and regulations. Dharma is not a set of 10 commandments. Dharma says ahimsa paramo dharma. Why non-violence is supreme dharma. At the same time, it says use violence if dharma is threatened. Otherwise, who is there to take care of dharma? Order. See, the criminals are there in the city. They are attacking police. The police says dharma, ahimsa, paramo dharma. Then how the criminals will kill everybody in the city? Is that dharma? So dharma definition is to be very carefully understood, and it has to be applied carefully. That is the life we have to lead, a life of dharma. But the life of dharma is not gross. It is a very, very subtle and fine understanding. We have to, dharma is for the people who are intelligent. Religion is for the people who don't understand dharma. It is like a primary school kid. You have to tell, okay, come to the class, come to the class in uniform, sit 1 hour silently. So the do's and don'ts are given to a person in the lower level of evolution. But for the beginners. But as you grow, the college child will not be given this thing. Here he'll be free to do whatever, the way he dresses, he comes. It's understood that he will do the right thing. So dharma is for people who are more evolved, who understand what is to be done, where and how to. There's no do's and don'ts. You have to apply your discrimination, your intelligence. In that sense, some of the religious principles are there. Do this, don't do this. They are applicable to very beginning of the spiritual journey. So while religion is for preparing you for spiritual journey, dharma takes you into spiritual journey, the inner journey. Because here you have to be aware. There's nobody else to judge you. You have to understand what is right, what is wrong. Am I doing right? What is right in this situation? That is dharma. Understand? So Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are doing adharma. Why? Arjuna is a Kshatriya, warrior. And warrior's job is to protect dharma. In the process of protecting dharma, some violence will be there. So you are hiding your failure to protect dharma in the name of dharma. You are telling, oh, adharma will happen, so many people. It is wrong. It's like a judge saying, there are so many criminals are there. Judge saying, the judge has to give a punishment, okay, to those criminals. They have to be hanged. The judge says, what if I hang them? Okay, what will happen to their children? Don't you think that these people who are left in this place, if they go and destroy the society, what will happen to those people? So, in the exercise of your dharmic duties, you should use your judgment. You should not be clouded. What happened is here, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He came to the war to protect dharma. The war was a dharmic war. But at the same time, he has a dharma also as a human being. Okay, human being dharma is, oh, these are my relatives. Bandhava. So the dharma itself has many layers, a personal and professional. So we have to play various roles in the society. The same person has to play as husband, as wife, as an employee, as a ruler. So in each aspect, certain behavior is expected in each role. That behavior.
Yes, it's like relative versus the whole world at large.
Correct. So each place you have a role to play. Dharma. Each role of you has a dharma. Now you have a dharma for yourself, dharma for your family, dharma for the society, dharma for the universe. Dharma means your role, dharma is your behavior, order. Because human being has, dharma operates at many levels, at the individual level, personal level, at the family level, at the society level, at the universal level. Right? So now, when you, dharma means the nature. As a human being, I have to have a certain nature. As a husband, I have to have a certain nature. As an employee, I have to have a certain nature. So now dharma follows karma, action. So I have this nature, then I have to act according to nature. That's acting according to nature is called karma. Dharma follows karma, right? The fire has dharma only. Fire has no karma because fire can only burn. It has no dharma. The fire cannot burn. It has no karma. Fire cannot do anything. It has no voluntary action. Karma follows dharma, right? Dharma is nature. So to maintain that nature and to exhibit that nature, you have to act. So you are a good man. Let's say that's your nature. But good man, nature has to be expressed through good karma. Otherwise, he is not a good man. There's no expression. The expression is the karma. Dharma is the nature, expression is the karma. Right? In case of human being, dharma and karma come together. In case of animal, there's no dharma and karma. Animal, there only dharma. Because they don't have freedom to act. So dharma and karma are the pair, twins. Dharma, karma follows dharma. First of all, if you don't understand what is your dharma, your karma will not be proper. Karma will be incomplete, wrong, biased. So that's why Bhagavad Gita starts with dharma. So Arjuna has a dharma as a personal dharma. Personal dharma is I have to take care of my relatives. I have to give respect to Guru. That is interfering with the professional dharma, which is Kshatriya. He has to maintain the law and order, which is greater dharma. So always in dharma, we have to follow, we have to give up the lower order of dharma and operate on the higher order of dharma. Right? When we are not able to do that, there is a called dharma sankata. There is a conflict of dharma will happen. You want to know what to do, but you can't do it. So always there is a lower order dharma and higher order dharma. So your individual personal dharma, you have to sacrifice for family dharma because it's a larger entity. Your family dharma, you have to sacrifice for samaj dharma, societal entity. Samaj dharma, you have to sacrifice for the world. So that's how it works. But your personal dharma is important. Your survival is important. If you don't survive, you can't do this. So dharma is a set of larger and larger circles. Here, what is dharma, adharma is to be very careful. That's why your evolution is important. So dharma and your evolution go together. So dharma is for more evolved people. That's why Indian society is considered dharmic society. It's an evolved society. Okay. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna that you are forgetting Kshatriya dharma. As a Kshatriya, that's why he said he fight the war. Because if you don't fight the war, who will establish the order? Okay. Now, interesting thing comes. In the Satyam Broyat, to tell Satya, truth is a dharma. There are many dharmas, right? Ahimsa Paramdharma. Ahimsa is one dharma. To tell the truth is one dharma. Then what is dharma? How can I understand dharma? If dharma is so fluid, not complete, it's so fluid. How do I understand dharma? That you don't have to understand because you know it already. What is dharma? You know it already. What you know as dharma is called Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means timeless. It's eternal. Okay. Nobody has to teach you. No textbook has to teach you. No prophet has to come and teach you. Nobody has to teach you. You know dharma. That's called Sanatana Dharma. We belong to Sanatana Dharma. What is Sanatana Dharma? Principle of dharma is very simple. Don't do to others what should not be done to you. Is it very complicated to understand? Don't hurt others because no, you don't want to be hurt by others. Right? This is the principle. Don't do to others what should not be done to you. That's all is called Sanatana Dharma. From that, everything, all your behavior follows. Don't kill anybody because you don't expect to be killed. Don't kill an animal because you don't want to be killed. Ahimsa Parama Dharma came because, so by doing himsa to others, you don't want to do violence for you. So you don't do violence to others. So the definition of dharma is very simple, but understanding of dharma is and application of dharma is what we have to live our life. Don't do others to others what should not be done, and do to others what should be done to you. Okay, so show respect to others, because people should give respect to you. Right? Very simple. Dharma is one line definition of dharma is don't do to others what should not be done to you. Give to others what should be given to you. From this entire dharmic concept was built in India. This is called Sanatana Dharma. This is not every human being knows. Animal knows it. Okay. But we forget it because we have many roles to play: personal, family, society, various roles to play. In each roles, we start getting conflict. When this conflict is there, how to resolve the conflict shows your level of evolution. The more evolved is, the more he will work towards a larger dharma compared to small selfishness.
People know.
Think about society, world, what is the principle rather than personality. So one principle is there. Satyam bruyat. To tell the truth is dharma. Okay. Do you agree? Because you want to be told truth, you should also tell the truth. So people follow this principle. Satyam bruyat. Okay. So there was a king called Satya Harishchandra, a great king called Satya Harishchandra in Ayodhya. And he followed principle of Satyam bruyat. Whatever he says, he keeps his word. King's word is, his word is a written document. He will never violate. Understand? Because he followed telling the truth, he got enlightened because of that truth, that practice, Jnana. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara came and blessed him. You have heard the story of Satya Harishchandra. I have told Satya Harishchandra. So he made practice of dharma in the form of Satya as the practice. Correct? Whereas there is another person called Dharmaraja. His name is itself is Dharmaraja. He has a brand, he is Dharmaraja. Okay? That means whatever he does, he follows dharma. Okay? In Mahabharata war, one situation comes where Ashwatthama has to be killed. Ashwatthama, son of Dronacharya. Dronacharya is a terrible warrior. He is killing so many people in the Pandavas army. Dronacharya is on the Kaurava side. So to demotivate Ashwatthama, demote Dronacharya, Krishna wants to announce Dronacharya's son Ashwatthama is killed. Dronacharya's son Ashwatthama is killed in the warfield. Then Dronacharya will get disheartened. Then we can go and kill him. That is the idea of Krishna. Okay. Then Krishna says to Dharmaraja, because Ashwatthama has a blessing, he cannot be killed by anybody. But if Dharmaraja says, Drona will believe. Okay. Then Sri Krishna tells Dharmaraja, announce that Ashwatthama is killed. Dharmaraja says, no, I can't. It's adharma. Because I only always tell the truth. So talking Satyam is dharma. Okay. So then Krishna says, okay, then you tell the truth only. Then he asked Bhima to kill an elephant called Ashwatthama. Right? So now tell Dharmaraja, you announce an elephant called Ashwatthama is killed. That's correct, that's truth only, you do that. Now you are telling the truth, no? Announce it loudly. So Dharmaraja is now okay. He is telling Ashwatthama, elephant is killed. That's in Sanskrit, it's called Ashwatthama Hatak Kunjaraha. Kunjara means elephant. But the moment Kunjara word comes, Krishna blows conch. Then the whole sentence is distorted now. Ashwatthama Hataha, Ashwatthama died. And this word coming from the word mouth of Dharmaraja, who will never tell the truth, shocks Dronacharya. He drops his weapons. Immediately he was killed. Okay. So did Dharmaraja tell the truth? Dharmaraja told truth only. He told Ashwatthama, elephant called Ashwatthama is killed. He told the truth. He didn't tell the untruth. But it became untruth. Immediately Dharmaraja collapsed. It is said that Dharmaraja had such a light heart and light mind because he was always telling the truth. His feet is always about 2 feet above the ground. It doesn't mean literally. He was always light. No guilt. Now he told the truth, but he collapsed. Okay. And because it is a lie actually, what he told. Even though it's factual correct, it's a factually, it's a at the higher point of it, it's a lie. And because of this lie, Dharmaraja, after his death, he has to visit hell. And in hell, it's told, because you told Ashwatthama Hatha Kunjara, you had to visit the hell. So when Dharmaraja told the truth became lie. Why? So imagine, compare Satya Harishchandra. Satya Harishchandra also told truth and he got enlightened in his lifetime. Dharmaraja told the truth, but still he is not enlightened. Still he has to visit hell. Why? What is the difference? See, please understand there's a difference. Dharma is not a practice for personal gain. Dharma is a means to an end. Dharma is a means to self-realization. Dharma is a path to self-realization. The way of your living will purify you so you become enlightened. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma begins, dharmic way will lead to moksha, liberation. So for Satya Harishchandra, the following Satya was dharma for moksha, liberation. For Yamadharma, for Dharmaraja, following dharma is a principle. So when it is a means for moksha, okay, principle for self-improvement. But he in the way of when Dharmaraja told something, he had to keep a larger interest in the mind, the whole society. He has to tell the untruth. If he tells the untruth and society is benefited, that becomes truth. The society is killing of Dronacharya is in the interest of Mahabharata war, where victory of adharma, victory of dharma over adharma. It's a larger interest. In the larger interest, you have to tell a lie. Who has to tell a lie? Dharmaraja. He did tell a lie. Okay. Because he thought it's violating his personal principle. So personal principle versus universe versus societal principle. The society takes a precedence in dharma. Understand? So dharma is very subtle. Personally, he is right. He has followed the principle. He has the principle of following this, telling truth, Satya. He has followed very thoroughly. But as a contribution, as a bringing order in society, he has failed. Are you understanding the difference? Right? So it is not a rule book. You have to always see which is larger interest, where how do I can work towards the betterment society? How do I uphold the dharma in the society? So this is very important, right? So this is where life of Rama becomes what we call as a book, rule book in dharma. It's called Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma. It is very difficult for us to understand what is dharma. Only we can understand the life of people, we can understand what is dharma. That's why Rama is called Vigrahavan Dharma. The life of Rama is called Vigrahavan Dharma. In many instances in Rama's life, we understand what is dharma. So first, as a son, Dasharatha tells him, go to the forest. Okay. Huh? He doesn't even tell also. Immediately he takes her. This is a dharma or duty of a son to a father. Okay. But his whole kingdom wanted Rama to be king. Rama didn't apply Rajadharma because he has not yet become the king. he is a potential king. No. First is application wise. Where Rajadharma versus relationship with the father, he will follow the Rajadharma. But here Rajadharma didn't apply because he has not yet become the king. He is potential king. Okay. Then kingdom will be ruled by Bharata, who is anyway a good ruler. So he followed the words of Rama, father. Then a conflict came when Rama. There are many things, many instances of Rama's life. Rama's life itself is a explanation of dharma. That's why Rama is considered great. He is Mahapurusha. He is Purushottama. Because Rama's life, he can see instances how dharma should be applied in your life. He said Rama's life is a book of dharma. We don't have a book called dharma. Life itself is book of dharma. Okay. So one instance comes where Rama and Sita. Rama is actually they are ruling the kingdom now. After killing Ravana, they have come down. Then one fisherman says, fisherman wife goes out, and he says he doesn't take his wife back. To take my wife back, I'm not like Rama. Sita was with Ravana and he has taken him back. I'm not Rama. Okay, this he says. Then Sita was pregnant. Rama sent Sita to forest with the Lakshmana. Now what happened? There's a personal dharma, family dharma, and Raj dharma. There's a clash. Raj dharma is the society order has to be maintained. In the society, it starts getting suspicion about the ruler behavior of the king, then you cannot maintain the order. If the king is corrupt, you cannot bring the order. Right? So you have to maintain high standards in your personal, in your behavior with respect to society. It's a golden standard. Now there's a conflict in Rama's life between his duty to the family or Grahastha Dharma versus Rajadharma. Now what he has to choose? He chose Rajadharma. Then he sent Sita to forest. Please understand, he didn't abandon Sita. So the many people of Ramayana, they have distorted the story of Ramayana to say Rama is heartless, he abandoned Sita. He didn't. He sent Sita with Lakshmana to Valmiki's place for her to stay. Okay. So this other things about Rama abandoned Sita is masala added by different people. So what happened was the person who was speaking, the fisherman, was a spy from Ravana. Ravana's spies were still surviving. They wanted to create chaos. They actually still wanted to take revenge on Rama. They started spreading rumor in Rama's kingdom. To stop that rumor spreading, Rama gave importance to Rajadharma because order has to be brought in the society and sacrificed his personal dharma. And he sent his wife to Valmiki's ashram. Okay. Now in the process, he got affected. He went into depression. After that, Rama could never be able to perform his, he was not able to perform his duties, or rather, he was able to perform his kingly duties, but personally he went into depression because Sita went out. So that's how there's a conflict always between larger interest, larger role, larger dimension with respect to smaller and with respect to person. So dharma is very, very, you have to understand dharma properly. Okay. So now Krishna doesn't tell Arjuna dharma, Rajadharma immediately. When Arjuna is depressed, Krishna doesn't tell Rajadharma immediately. He starts telling him Moksha Dharma first. He tells Arjuna, he doesn't tell Arjuna you have to fight the war as a Kshatriya and all. He'll tell you are Atma. Atma cannot be killed. Okay, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. He tells the Moksha Dharma first. Then he makes him to do Rajadharma. because dharma is not an independent action. Dharma is always, dharmic way of life is for liberation, moksha. Moksha is the goal. If you forget the larger goal of moksha, the smaller actions will be, even if you follow dharma, you'll be going heaven. That's what happened in case of Dharmaraja. Dharma is, for Dharmaraja, dharma became its end. Dharma is the means for moksha. Do you understand the difference between means and ends? Okay. So Sri Krishna first reminds him that what is the goal of your whole life? The goal of your whole life is Atmadnana. So dharma is a way. Dharma is not the end. Then he tells him dharma is important and how do you have to follow dharma, and in the following dharma how to purify yourself so that you are ready for moksha. Right? Dharma is not an end. Dharma is a means for moksha. If you forget that, you get stuck in the dharma. You get stuck in the lower level activity. Okay. So today I have taken up dharma. Dharma Mimamsa cannot be done in one class. Okay. Dharma Gada. Right? So there is so much to tell about dharma. So I'll take next class to continue on Dharma Mimamsa. So far I have given only introduction to what is dharma. Now Dharma Mimamsa, or the understanding of dharma, I'll tell one more story next week. Okay. So till today, let us summarize what we understood. Right? Dharma is a nature. A human being can do adharma because of his ego. So doing dharma itself is not an end. Dharma is a means for moksha, liberation. If you forget the goal, you'll lose your way in the doing. So Sri Krishna reminds Arjuna first about the moksha dharma, or goal of life, liberation. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That's why he gives Atmadana first. Then he tells him how to work towards Atmadana by following dharma, and following of dharma he tells karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, kriya yoga, and yajna. So unless you get a clarity about the end, your actions will not be directed towards that. Right? So that's why we stop the session today. What is dharma and what is adharma? I'll take one more session. I don't know whether I can do it in one more session also. Maybe next week I'll tell what is dharma and adharma. So namaste. Anybody has a question?
Thank you, Gurudeva.
Okay. Uma?
No question, Guruji.
So clear.